Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Stranded Survivors. My name is Matt. I'm one of your co hosts.
And my name is Jericho. I'm a co host of the Stranded Survivors podcast. And just welcome to an amazing community.
Yeah, if it's your first episode, welcome. We are happy to have you. Make sure you join the Discord so that way we can give you the full Stranded Survivors welcome. But we are happy to have you guys here. And those of you that are returning from last week and the other weeks, how you doing? And Jericho, how you doing?
Honestly, man, I'm doing okay. Work's definitely been a struggle, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a little hectic. But other than that, man, I really just got over being sick. That's why I wasn't here last week. It's really probably one of the worst sicknesses I've had. Like, I think I had literally everything except throwing up, and I ended up throwing up like twice. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy. Honestly, I'm doing better. Still got a little thing in my voice, still got a little cough. Other than that, man, doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad you're back because I do not want to do this by myself again. So I am thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that you're feeling better. It sucks that you were sick, man. I feel the struggle because my family and my household was going through it for a hot minute there. So I feel the struggle bus on being sick. I'm glad you're feeling better, man. Like you said, work has been it. It has been. That is. I am going to leave it at
Yeah.
that. Work has been work. That is for sure.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. So I am, in that wonderful fun phase of trying to figure out how to fill my cup in the evening, metaphorically speaking, of course, because it gets drained very quickly throughout the week. So, I mean, life's all about finding the little pleasures right now.
Yeah.
But, all in all, it's good. I don't want to paint a picture of doom and gloom. Everything is, as good as it's going to be, and I'm thankful for the health and stuff like that everyone's been getting back. I'm thankful that things are starting to get back to normal in my household, and, you know, I'm starting to play Ark again. Been playing, I was playing like a single player server, but by that I mean I'm starting to, see other players because we're playing on our private server. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that later, but it's good to be back in the Ark with people.
Man, it really is, honestly. Like, I've been playing quite a bit of PvP, and even I have also been playing on our server, and it's really been fun. Like, just to get back into everything, try out different things. Ark has been, a little revival for me, and I very much have enjoyed playing it as of recently.
Dude, for sure. It's nice to have like one of the things that I didn't think about for having our own private server. I mean, we'll talk more about this later. I could go on this tangent all day, but the lag. There is no lag. It is so smooth and so crisp, and the frame rate is so nice. And it's amazing how fast a Stegosaurus can actually swing its tail when you don't have, 5,000 pillars within render range.
Yeah, that's fair.
Speaking of the private server, I want to jump in. You know how we start off with the Dino dossier now, and we've got our Dino of the Week and all that fun stuff. But speaking of the private server, one of the things that I have spent way too much time doing, more time than I would like to admit this one task has taken, is getting an Argent. And
Mm,
an Argent is something that, it's so clutch for the early game stuff. And that's what we're talking about today, is early game management, how to bust out of the early game, and how to set yourself up for success early on. And the Dino dossier of this week being the Argentavis, because it is arguably, in my opinion, one of the most important dinos that you can get on the island.
yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
How could you not, man? It's got everything. I mean, we're gonna get into that here in 1 second, but it's got absolutely everything. Uh, Sticking with the outline here, we've got. I'm trying to scroll down here. My computer has been less than cooperative today, so we're trying to make it. Whoa, there it goes. Yep, okay. All right, my laptop has a full mind of its own right now. That's fun. So, the dossier. It says the species Argentavis atricolum. It is from the late Miocene time, It is a carrion feeder, which means it feeds on carcasses, dead animals, rotting flesh. And it has a very short-tempered temperament, so I would keep your distance because if you get too close, you're likely to take it off just by looking at it. My laptop keeps scrolling all the way to the bottom of the page for absolutely no reason. All right, wild. Lording over the skies across the island, Argentavis atriculum has few aerial rivals. It is a small consolation for the island's other avian creatures, then, that Argentavis seems to have little interest in anything alive. Quite apart from what I would have guessed, Argentavis does not have the stooped neck typical of modern buzzards and vultures. I don't know if it adapted this stronger neck to deal with the predators on the island, or if its lineage derives from before the stooped neck became common in carrion-eating birds. Whichever it meant to be, it has enabled Argentavis to carry smaller creatures with its beak. Domesticated. Argentavis is actually slower than the island's far more common pteranodon, but it possesses significantly more stamina and can sustain flight for approximately 3 times as long. Its weighty stature, in comparison to the pteranodon, allows it to utilize its talons to support the weight of an additional passenger. Considering its saddle doubles as a mobile crafting station, it makes Argentavis an excellent creature for traveling and hauling cargo over long distances. Love Helena. Jericho, what do you think about that?
Honestly, like it says in the thing, man, it's nice that it's a smithy. You don't have to then craft a smithy. You just have one in there, in the RG itself. And then it's nice, with things that it's like half the weight or a quarter of the weight. I can't remember exactly. I think it's half the weight for everything you put in there. And honestly, that creature is such good early game, good for gathering metal, good for carrying your Anki. Like, the RG is really just, it's an elite early game. Like, later game, eventually if you have a tribe, you're going to probably use a Quetzal. But overall, RG is really used for a good long time in the game. So honestly, RG, great dossier, great dino. What else could you ask from it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's absolutely goated. It can carry 5 creatures at one time. Like if you actually do the math out, because it said it can carry small creatures in its beak, so you could pick up like I don't know an otter in its mouth. It can pick up creatures in its feet, so you can grab an Anki with it. You can ride on its back. That's 3, and if you have a shoulder pat on your back, that's 4. Where am I getting the 5th one from?
I don't know. Good question.
Mouth, feet, back, and then your hands. So I guess maybe 5 counting itself. I don't know. My math isn't working. My math isn't mathing. Oh, the fact that you can use it as a hitching post. That's what it was. So I can be picking stuff up, and then you can shoot it right in the booty with your grappling hook and hang off the back. So that's 5.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So this thing, if you are unfamiliar with the name, because not everybody is, a dino nerd like I am, it's the one that's like an eagle mixed with a condor, kind of, pretty big up in the snow area. When it eats things that are already dead, it gets the little like green plus symbols around its head, and that's it activating its regeneration. Fun fact, I'm not sure if it's been patched or not, but I know at one point, if you knock it out at the exact moment that it's utilizing its regeneration abilities, that regen ability will stay active while it's knocked out, and it will like super drain its food and allow you to tame it pretty darn quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, pro tip of the day if you didn't know. I mean, not only can it be utilized to carry 5 things at once like I talked about, hunting, you can go hunt a lot of things. Don't hunt gigas with it. It will never win. The area of effect attack that a giga has will absolutely wipe out an entire flock. So even if you have 10 to 12 with you and you're using them as a mobile aggressive seagull unit, it's not going to have a good time against that. It can take out a lot of other things. You can hunt a lot of other things. You're also going to have to consider with it using the regeneration ability, though, you're going to have to take the meat off of it pretty quickly because it gets pretty hungry pretty fast. It's a mount. It's a scout. The weight carrying, it's one of the largest amount of weights that you're going to get on a flyer, aside from a Quetzal, of course, but it's significantly faster than a Quetzal. And Speaking of weight, it's got 50% reduction, like Jericho mentioned, on black pearl, crystal, metal, ingots, obsidian, organic polymer, regular polymer. What's the other one? Stone?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, stone. Yep. Yep. So it's got 50% weight reduction on all of those. So that's pretty useful. The Anki still has higher weight reduction on metal. So I still advise that you carry the Argent and then you can, you ride the Argent, carry the Anki, and then while carrying the Anki, as long as the Anki is below 50% weight, you just have to get within range and it will auto attack all the metal that you go by. But once it hits 50% weight capacity, it will stop doing that, and then you have to do it manually. But my recommendation, because it has the better weight dispersion or weight mitigation, is to leave the metal on the Anki. Let's see. So that covers the mining. I talked about the portable hook post because you can shoot it with a grappling hook and you can have somebody hang off of it. That also is useful for taming. If I remember correctly, you're able to use like your crossbow and stuff while on the back of an Argent, or I can pick up my buddy and he can use his crossbow while he's in the feet of it, or he can even hitch onto the back and, I don't know, figure something out that way. But long story short, it's great for taming. Highly recommend you get it because of all these other things we listed. Argent is pretty much the goated dino on the island, in my opinion. Other maps, we can talk about it, but Argent wins the island.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. RG is really high up there. So, Matt, what is like kind of like do you have a go-to RG story or Argentavis story, or not really?
Oh man, I was afraid you were gonna ask about that. Do you want do you want the light side or the dark side of Ark?
Whatever one you want. I feel like, we've shed a lot of light on Ark today. Let's have another light one.
I wanna say, oh, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm trying to think. All the funny stories I have for Argents are usually me being nefarious and up to no good, and it biting me in the butt. Very instant karma. Um, Man, I don't have a positive Argent story. All my Argent stories are negative. It's all me being a
Um,
rapscallion, man. Can you share a positive one?
Man, honestly, I don't got a positive one. The only positive one I got is a while ago when we were on the official server. It was just a fun time to we were in the claws. Like I just grabbed Pierre and we're sitting there trying to tame the Quetzal. It was just a fun time. First Quetzal on the official server.
Okay, so yeah, you got me there. That is a positive one right there. So you guys were able to get the first Quetzal on that official server, and Pierre and I had gone either the night before or 2 nights before, and it was an absolute dookie show. So he picked me up in the talons of the Argent. We're flying around. I don't remember if we went out looking for a Quetzal or if we just happened upon one. But either
Hmm.
way, we geared up. We're getting ready to tame it, and oh my gosh, dude, it's frustrating me even just sitting here talking about it, laughing about it.
Hmm.
So we go up, and this was before we knew about the console commands to get rid of the fog and the clouds and stuff like that. So
Yep.
as soon as we start shooting at the Quetzal, it immediately hooks a hard left and starts dipping into the redwoods. So we're like, that's
Yep.
going to be a sketchy place to finish the tame. We're trying to figure out, how we're going to manage that, how we're going to make it work. And then all of a sudden, I swear, out of nowhere, the art gods, the overseers, whoever it may be, just, I don't know, chemtrailed a cloud right over our face. And all of a sudden, the Quetzal like completely disappeared in the fog and in the clouds. And then we disappeared
No.
into it. And there was like a good 45-second window where we just couldn't see anything. And uh, QC was just sort of guesstimating which direction the Quetzal had gone. And I don't
No.
remember if I think we ended up finding it, and then I ran out of arrows because I had missed so many times shooting the Argent in the butt cheeks.
Hmm.
You gotta get the angle positioned perfectly, because if you go to pick the person up in the feet, same with the dino. If you go to pick up a wild dino on an unofficial or PvP server or anything like that, if you get too low with the Argent, it'll get too close to the Argent's bodies up by its like thighs instead of its feet, and then it can still attack the Argent. And if it's a person, that person will continuously attack the Argent instead of what's around them. So if you're able to come down just a little bit higher off the ground and you're actually able to use the toes of the Argent, there's a significantly less likely chance that the wild dino can attack it or that your tribe mate will shoot it.
Oh.
So, fun fact, we learned that one the hard way. But, yeah, we almost had the first Quetzal. I almost got to be part of the glory, but instead I just shot QC's Argent in the booty about 45 times and then ran out of darts.
Nice. Always a good time.
For sure. And then, there's always the fun times of, trying really hard to get gigas to specific spots in the map. Like we had on a long time ago on an official server, we had a trap set up over on, gosh, it was Ragnarok? No, it was the center. Yeah, it was the center. We had a trap set up on the center, and we were trying to get the giga over to the trap, and we literally kited it like across the entire map back at the time when you could, kite things across the ocean and it wouldn't really run out of stamina and drowned. This was way back in the day. And we kited that bad boy literally from like Lava Island all the way across to the southern area where the metal spawns are that I always talk about down by Skull Island. And we get it all the way up there, get it into the trap, and then it immediately turns around and one-shots us and our only Argent.
No.
Oh, yeah. Just chomp. And it was my buddy Ricky, and he gets chomped off the Argent, drops to the ground, and then it chomps him. And then I turned around and tried to run back to the base, hoping that I could just shut the door in its face and hide, and it would go away. And it didn't work that way. It was a bad time.
No.
That is not how you tame a Giga. 2 out of 10 would not recommend. We learned, do not kite it back to your base.
Yeah, definitely not a great idea at that point.
Man, but Argents though, we're talking surviving the early game today. That's basically going to be our meat and potatoes and our bread and butter here, and that is probably going to be my top tip. Is everything else that we're going to tell you for the early game is leading up to getting Argents, and once you get high level Argents, I feel like the island is relatively easy to bust out to the mid game after you get Argents. That's what a mated pair of Argents that you're able to hatch and raise the eggs from is what I would mark busting into the mid game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that, honestly, because, like, you go from Pteranodon to Argy most of the time, and then, like you said, you start hatching them, you're now in the mid tier.
Yeah, and that's when you're going to start moving your base. That's when you're going to get to your permanent location. That's when all of these tips will be ending, okay? So all these tips we're about to go through and everything we're about to talk about is pretty much building you up to the point where you're breeding your own Argents and you're ready to move to your permanent location. So that's what we mean by early game. I guess first things first, Jericho, you're level 1, you pop into a new server. The first thing I'm doing is going to be gathering enough resources to level myself up enough to make a bed and drop a bed anywhere. It doesn't have to be where I'm going to be staying. It doesn't have to be a permanent, decent location quite yet. I'm immediately tossing a bed down so that way I can consistently get back to my crafting location. What are you doing immediately?
Well, I think there's a couple different routes to go about it. I think it depends on, kind of what role you're playing, if you have a couple different tribe members. But I would say the first thing that I have been doing as of recent for my PvP servers, I have been going straight to spawn in West Zone 2, and I've been getting the 10 notes on that little tiny island. Make sure you get the 4 times notice on the edge of the water. But that's the first thing I've been doing, is going in and straight up going for my levels.
Okay, so you're taking the veterans approach, and I'm still taking the noobs approach. I'm taking the beach bob approach, and you're taking that quick bust as late as you can, as quick as you can. It's interesting how PVE and PVP, and maybe it's just me being a beach bob, but at least the PVE mindset of I just want a little bed to craft and keep my crap at, that is a very different mindset than what you just gave, I feel like.
Yeah, I do think there's a little bit of a mindset difference, especially PvP, PvE. Even base locations are looking a little different there. And, if I am with a tribe member, like honestly, you're like I said, it depends on your roles, right? Because other people for PvP are going straight to their base location and spamming foundations and stuff so that nobody can build there.
Very true, and that is honestly smart for PvP. You know what I mean? You got to get that prime real estate. You got to get it as quickly as you can, and you got to make sure that you're going to defend it as quickly as you can. So I can understand that. Um, PVE has a lot of the same mindset. If you have a tribe, for sure, then I'm going to completely change my approach because we've got multiple people working on multiple things, and I'm going to find a role to fall into. But when I'm talking, I'm picturing myself being a solo, like I was on the
Okay.
unofficial server here. I was solo until I got Joe Daddy joining up with me, and now it's the two of us. And we are sort of operating as two solo tribes together, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Um, so we're working towards common goals and things like that. But I'm approaching this conversation from the mindset of doing it by yourself. If you just got the game, you're unfamiliar with everything. I'm sort of trying to give the first timers a bit of advice here with the way I'm approaching it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I understand that.
Yeah. So that being said, you got your little crafting area down. You level yourself up. You got yourself a bed. Once you are getting to the point where you're unlocking like the smithy and stuff like that, you're still pre-electricity. Electricity, I'm busting you up to the mid game for that because that's when you're hatching eggs and getting your incubators and your not your incubators, your air conditioners and stuff going. So I think after I get my crafting spot up and I get myself leveled up because I am not familiar with the survivor notes, hypothetical situation or not, I genuinely don't know where most of the survivor notes are. So
That's fair.
it's not viable for me personally because I mean I'm too lazy to go look stuff up like that while I'm playing. I just want to chill. I just want to vibe, and I don't stress quite about finding those. And I know the levels will come with time. So I've got my little prime spot. Now I'm moving up to my permanent location, and you're building yourself a little base. You're going to want to find a spot that, I mean, gosh, okay, first off, what constitutes a good PvP spot? Because I know that the way I find a base in PvE is drastically different than how you're going to find a PvP base.
So, I mean, honestly, being very helpful would be to look up videos of like PvP based locations. But a lot of times right now, I mean, caves. Caves are the biggest thing that a lot of people are using, or like very heightened spots that you can only get through in the air. Um, so yeah, I mean, those are, it depends on a couple circumstances, but I am going to say a lot of the times caves are the biggest thing that you want for PvP because there's only one way in and one way out.
And see, I guess I'm just a dingus because I genuinely thought you couldn't build in caves unofficial.
Yeah, you can.
That's wild. I've been
Yep.
missing out on all these years. So, one way in, one way out, that's obviously prime defense, but isn't that inconvenient? You had talked in an earlier episode about how in one of your PvP servers, you guys had like an underwater base that took you forever to get into. And at what point does security and functionality, intersect? Where in the graph of the mind does that point intersect for you?
I think a lot of the big thing is I mean, it's still hard for them to get into that base. Like, me taking forever, which is very frustrating and annoying. It also takes them forever to do the same exact thing.
I mean, that's fair. And with it being, an underwater or a flying area, that definitely limits the type of things they can bring. One of the first things that popped into my mind when you had mentioned that, you had said a spot that you could either swim into or fly into. And with it being a flyer only area, I genuinely cannot think of anything that flies that you would consider a bullet sponge.
Yeah, and that's the thing is how they kind of do it now is, you know, so something that I recently learned is I know this isn't really early game, but something I did recently learn, a little tip here is that Argentavis cannot pick. You cannot pick someone off of a stego, bro.
You can't?
No, like you cannot unless you have a
Can
Quetzal.
so can you pick them off of other things? Like could you pick them off of the back of a trike?
Yeah,
Okay, that's interesting. What do you think it is about the stego? Do you think it's the plates that protects them? Do you think that's like a design or a glitch?
I think it's the plates. I don't know. I think it's very weird, and I just learned that the other day for PvP. I know I'm kind of new to that because everyone else already knows, but yeah,
Man, I didn't know. My mind is blown right now.
yeah,
That's good to
mine
know
too.
though, because I feel like that's pretty clever. You said with a Quetzal you still can though.
From what I was told, yes.
That's interesting. I figured with the
hmm
Quetzal you would just pick the entire stego up.
Which is probably also, which is probably what it is. But I've
Gotcha.
never
Okay.
actually tested it.
See, see, that's dangerous though, because if you pick me up and I'm able to still access my sword or something like that, I can just look up and start hacking at you. Because if you're holding the stego, then that would mean I'm close enough to you to be within melee range. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but you can only pick up the stego with the Quetzal. So I mean, in reality, your Quetzal is going to have enough health that something. I mean, yes, a shotgun is going to do some damage, but I mean, you really should be okay, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, a stego for PvP sounds like it would be a relatively good early game thing to get. You got the bullet sponge capabilities, you got some good berry gathering. It'll protect you from being picked off by an Argent or another rider like that. Um, you know, stegos sound like they're where it's at for PvP.
Yeah, stegos are overall very well used, and you want to get a high level early game. I mean, I wouldn't say early game because you know that is you want to do mid level because that's when you're soaking turrets and different things like that. But it is a good dino to use.
Yeah, yeah. When you're talking super early game, obviously a Parasaur is going to be the easiest to get for everybody. If
Yep.
you're unfamiliar with how to do that, you're going to use a bola, and once you bola the Parasaur, you got like 5 to 10 seconds. I don't remember how long it is, but you got enough time to pull out your little whooping stick and start clubbing the Parasaur down, or using your crossbow or bow with narcotic arrows, whatever you have access to at that point. Super easy to take down. Once you get a little bit more built up and you have the crossbow, which requires metal ingots in a forge, so once you've already got a, quote unquote, semi permanent, at least satellite based location that's capable of making these ingots, get yourself a crossbow, make yourself some narcotics with your mortar and pestle, put them on some arrows, and use those arrows to take down a trike. Trikes are where it's at, man. I don't care what anybody says. I have a soft spot for trikes, and early game they're relatively easy to get and they're super effective.
Yeah, honestly, I I'm personally probably not getting a trike. Not early game. I do agree that it is very useful. And honestly, you can also use that for soaking. But I mean, I am getting straight going to a Parasaur for my berry gatherer, and I'm not switching that honestly until I get a stego. It's just that, I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Really, see, the it just doesn't do it for me. The Parasaur, it's good. It's just not effective enough for me to, feel satisfied like I'm getting the most bang for my buck. I would love to get a Therizino. I think that would honestly be the way to go, just because it is,
Yeah.
it's your Parasaur, your Beaver, and like 5 other things all wrapped up into one. So that's definitely the way to go
hmm
if you can, but they're they're mean. They're not
Uh,
nice. So they're a little tougher to get.
yeah, I agree.
Um, why can I not make narcotics? Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. There's something wrong with our unofficial server because I cannot make narcotics. That's interesting. I'm in my mortar and pestle, and it has spoiled meat, and I have my narco berries in there, but there's literally like no option to craft anything.
Weird. I check your smithy or something. Make
That is
sure,
weird.
like, if you can use your smithy, then you know it's just glitched.
Um, Yeah, my smithy has the ability to craft all sorts of neat things.
Weird.
That is weird. I'm gonna try to pick it up and put it down someplace else, see if that fixes it. Hmm. Anyway, ADD moment, sorry. Um, Early game, that's what we were talking about. So, berry gatherers. Super important for food, super important for making narcotics if your mortar and pestle will work. Uh, Aside from that, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but a pteranodon. You need to get wings as quickly as you can, whether it's to get to that aerial access only spot, if that's where you're going to build, or whether it's just to, travel across the map and make things a little bit easier for you to gather some resources on the other side. Because, a pteranodon is not going to do it if you need to go gather obsidian and crystal from the volcano. You're going to need an argent for that. But if you need to get across the map to maybe tame another creature or do some scouting for a good base location or maybe just check something out or hit a drop or two, a pteranodon is an absolute must-have for the early game.
Yeah, honestly, pteranodons, like, that is probably, depending on where you're going to build for PvP, if you're going to build underwater, you're going to go tame a dolphin first, okay? But if you're going to build somewhere, like Matt said, either, flyer access only or even potentially getting to another cave across the map first, you are going to tame a pteranodon. A pteranodon can get you anywhere you need. Like Matt said, it can get you drops. Overall, it's one of the most useful things. You can pick people, get some free kits. And pteranodon is really what you need for an early game tame. And I would not suggest any other sort of bird.
Yeah, to be honest with you, you have many options in your avian fellow friends, but I do not recommend any of them on the island at least, except for the pteranodon and then the argent. Um, the only other one that's even like kind of cool is the Pelagornis, and that's because you can use it as a, living swan boat. So that's pretty cool, but you won't catch me dead floating in the middle of the ocean. So I'm not about that life. If you're about that life, heck yeah, get you a Pelagornis. But aside from, cruising on your swan boat in the middle of the ocean, there's not a whole lot of use for those. Um, Gosh, you could tame a, whatever is it a Hesperornis that gives you the golden eggs? But I mean, that's not something you're going to fly on. So I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Pteranodon, then Argent, only birds.
Yeah, honestly, only birds until, I mean, yeah, you got the Rhino which is a bug, different things like that. But overall, your tames for the early game, which is what we're talking about, are going to be the RG and the Pteranodon.
Absolutely, as far as flying, yeah. Um, what other tames do you need early game? Like obviously you need to get a carnivore for defense. A raptor will do you. A small army of Dilos will do you if you're Joe Daddy. But aside from some wings, aside from a berry gatherer, maybe some dodos to drop you some eggs. What else are you trying to get? Like, what other tames do you need before you're going to be like, all right, I'm ready to go get some argents?
So honestly, I'm not taking anything other than Pteranodons and Parasaurs. Um, and like you said, maybe a raptor, whatever. Honestly, I'm not taking a raptor. I'm just gonna rely on myself to PvP someone. I'm not saying I'm good. I'm kind of trash, but I'm honestly just going with the Pteranodon and Parasaur.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely real with you, early game, you don't have a need for crystal or, polymer or anything that's going to be excessively difficult or heavy or anything like that. Really, at this point, everything you're going to be building, would be easier with tames, sure, but can very easily be done with the stone equipment that you can craft pretty early game. So, as far as resources go, I mean, you're not desperately in need for an Anki yet. You're not in need of a Doedicurus yet, but pretty darn soon. Um,
Yes.
Gosh, for resources, man. early game, you don't even need anything crazy. You're really gonna be doing all of this stuff with berries, meat, stone, wood, fiber, thatch, flint. You're gonna use a little bit, just a baby little of metal, but you're not gonna use any like rare resources or anything crazy yet.
No, not at all, to be honest. And like you said, you're doing all these things, like by your hand. I mean, the dinos get berries, and if you're getting a Pteranodon, it can get you meat and hide, which you're gonna need, right? Or cooking yourself some food because Ark's draining of your food is absolutely ridiculous, and it feels like you have to eat every 10 seconds. Um, and even water. Fair warning, going to tell everyone, do not upgrade any points into food or water. That will always be my number one thing. Never do that. Um, but yeah, honestly, that's what those tames are going to get you. Otherwise, you're getting the thatch, you're getting the stone, you're getting the wood and flint and different things like that all by hand.
Absolutely, yeah. You're gonna have a lot easier of a time than it sounds like at this point because you don't need massive quantities. I mean, eventually you're going to, but it's nothing crazy yet. So no stress there as far as resources go. And honestly, like Jericho said, there's really no stressing about tames, to be honest with you. You can get away with 3 or 4 tames up until you get the Argent, and then if you get good Argents, it's smooth sailing from there.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so building bases, though, like we talked just a little bit about, building a cute little bed area. Doesn't have to be anything special, just a spot for you to store your stuff and respawn. And I can't really, you know, I can't talk too much because right now I have a literal wide open platform that's completely worthless and not good at all. But I've been hyper fixated on getting Argent, so that's my excuse there. But as far as building your base goes, early game, for PvE, it's very different than the PvP approach. I'm not hiding in caves. I'm sure as heck not hiding underwater. But you're going to want to find a spot that is going to be close to, the difficult resources. At the end of the day, you're going to want to, live somewhere nearby metal. You're going to want to live semi close to crystal and obsidian. You're going to want to be sort of close to the ocean so you can have access to oil and stuff like that. So, looking around the map, my honest recommendations, I am a bit of a sucker for Smuggler's Peak or Smuggler's Pass, whatever it is. And I really like the area to the. Let's see here. I had to look at my map. Sorry, I was directionally challenged for a brief moment. I really like the area to the southwest. There is that neat little, horseshoe patterned open spot area. I think it's where Alan was building in our unofficial server. I really like that spot. And then, to be honest with you, any of the little gulfs, like, there are a lot of peninsulas on the island. And any spot along those peninsulas are usually relatively safe. And it's got decent access to a lot of resources in pretty flat areas. So I mean, as far as PvE goes, I don't stress too much about what is around me. I'm stressing more about how close I am to resources, and I'm stressing about what spawns in that area, and I'm stressing about how close my neighbors are. That's really all I'm fixated on. And as long as it's different for each person, you could be completely content living right across the beach from somebody, but I don't even want to look at your base. Like, no offense to anybody, but I want to, I want to be alone until I don't want to be alone, is what I guess I'm trying to get at. So I'm trying to find a nice little secluded spot that's going to be quiet and not get too much attention from dinos or people flying over because I'm too paranoid to handle strangers landing at my base looking at stuff.
Yeah, that's fair, to be honest. Like you said, everyone is different, man. And that's the big thing is PvP is so different. Like, I mean, honestly, my big thing has been, kind of building near those resources early game because you want the polymer early game as a PvP player because you want to stack it up and you want the silica pearls, you want the oil, You want all the later game resources as early as possible for PvP so you can excel yourself to the later game earlier. So I'm building like somewhere near those resources, which all those resources are really in the snow. So I'm building as close to the snow, or I'm building in the snow as much as I can. And I would say another big tip for me early game here for PvP is if you're building anywhere out in the open, you have to have your building not be wide open like Matt's base is right now for PvE, because that's the difference is somebody will come and take your stuff because your base is not fully done. So you need to focus on fully getting your base, everything. The walls, you're using the ceilings and the foundations. You're making sure you have everything and there's no way to get in unless they use grenades or C4.
Grenade. Yeah, even unfortunately, even if you have a solid location, I feel like, the one time that you convinced me to play a PvP server with you, I felt like we had a really good location. I felt like we had, our solid little hidey hole in a cave, crammed into a little nook that wasn't even visible. I got lost trying to find our base within the cave numerous times, and we still got wiped in like 3 days. So I feel like no matter what you do, PvP is such a dangerous and hostile environment that, like, you almost, correct me if I'm wrong, but the vibe I get from PvP is you literally have to just smile and wave and continually get wiped until you're a high enough level to be like and like power through to turrets in like 2 days, and then you're safe.
Yeah, at this point, depending on what server you're on, if you're on an unofficial server that's a little boosted, cough, cough, go join the Stranded Survivors one. But no, if you're on a unofficial PvP server and you have to have turrets day one, otherwise you're going to get raided.
That's so wild to me. I can't imagine stressing that hard to get turrets on day one.
Yeah, it is honestly a lot of work, and you need to be on for the whole wipe. Like, really quickly, I was doing a duo server, and I was on for like about 6 hours. We got quite a bit done, and had a couple turrets up, had some plant eggs, whatever, some small stuff. And the only reason that we even ended up being able halfway successful, for like we stayed alive for 2 or 3 days, was because I had a tribe mate who stayed on for almost 48 hours straight.
That is unhealthy at best.
Yes, it is.
Dang. Yeah, see, that brings me back to the good old sketchy sketch days of being addicted. And that's my big push away from the PvP is I got so addicted to Ark at one point that, like, I affectionately keep this game at maybe, I'm not going to say a 10-foot pole, but I keep it at an affectionate arm's length at times just because it became so addictive for me. So, like, when I hear stories about people that are able and willing to do that, first off, clap, hats off to you because, oh, hi, Huey. Hats off to you because that is dedication to do anything for that many hours straight, let alone, stay focused. So that is an impressive amount of playing that I just can't do anymore.
Yeah, PvP, you have to grind a lot. So fair warning, if you're going to go to a PvP, you need to be able to play a lot unless you're on a server that permits different things.
Yeah, you got to get creative with it if you're going to be able to do that. The only way I could play PvP is, honestly, like, Insta-tame Fibercraft would be, like, the only way I could play PvP. Because at that point, it's so easy to get everything back.
Yeah.
It just, I've said it once and I'll say it again. It stresses me out so bad to think that I could, sign in to find 400 pieces of C4 sitting on my base waiting for my offline raid protection to disappear.
Yep.
All right, so we have talked a bit about where to build, talked a bit about, what your base should look like, the teams you need to get, the resources you'll be dealing with. Organization, that is a big thing that, I like to stay on top of. It gets very out of hand very quickly when you, like right now, I have only 2 storage chests because I have limited resources for all 3 of my little satellite bases. But
Mhm.
those storage chests are literally just dumping grounds of ugliness, and that stresses me out. So, my honest recommendation to you is organization is very much key in this game. You will be able to accomplish a lot more by staying organized. And it sounds dramatic at first, but when you think about it, if you are spending 2 minutes to go through all of your storage chests to find everything you need to make a crossbow, because you got to figure out where you stuck your wood, figure out where you stuck your fiber, and you don't want to go get more. And if you waste 2 minutes doing that, and then you do that 30 times over the course of crafting different things, you've just wasted an hour. If you do that over the course of a month, you just wasted 30 hours of your life trying to figure out where crap was that you already had. So if you make enough storage chests, you put, what I like to do is turn them around backwards, and then I'll put a canvas on the back and I'll paint a picture of whatever it is I'm storing in there, or you can, just name it if you're not feeling so artsy fartsy like that. But if you can go down a line and look at, 10 storage chests and have them named wood, thatch, fiber, stone, that will help you so much. And eventually you'll memorize the order that they're in. You'll be able to stay organized. It will be much faster for you to dump your inventory, gear up for doing things. It will save you so much time that you'll accomplish a lot more.
Yeah, I think being organized is important. It's just, like you said, it is so hard when you get that scatterbrain, or you just, you're just dumping stuff in because you're so focused on being task oriented. Like, when I go into a server, like I have a plan, like this is my plan where to build. This is my resources I need to get. This is what I'm going for. Like, you're just so focused on that, you don't even focus on the organization. And eventually, yes, you do the organization, and I agree that it is very helpful to know, like, this box is this and this is this, instead of just like, oh, is it in this vault on slot 500? Like, you just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of time, especially when you get vaults. Oh my gosh, I forgot about vaults. There are so many slots in there that it will take you forever if you do not stay organized. Like, sure, you can go into the sorting and sort by like name, sort by weight. You can sort by like all different categories and stuff like that. So check that out if you're not familiar with that, and that can help a little bit. But still, you can alleviate a whole lot of stress and confusion just by staying organized. And that's not everybody's strong suit, so I am in no means dissing on the people that live in organized chaos. If you are one of the people that have the ability to have a memory where you're sitting here like, no, I know for a fact I had a stack of obsidian. It was on the 14th row of my third vault because I have a paperclip behind the front left leg of my dresser. If that's how your brain works, like, cool, man, I am jealous. But I can't remember what my shoes look like, let alone where I put stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I will say this because I just remembered it. And I would say maybe, counteracts the claim of wanting to be organized is Ark having the pull system is literally the best thing that they've ever added to Ark. Because all you need to do is type in what you need, and or like click what you need. For example, if I wanted to make a C4, all I need to do is go click the C4, go up to the corner of my screen. There's a button up there. There are a couple buttons, so you'd have to differentiate. But there's a button up there. You click that button, and if it's in any sort of like vault or any sort of like anything around, like even dinos, all you have to do is click that button, and it pulls enough for how many ever you put, the amount that you put on the top. So if I want to make 100 C4 and I had the appropriate amount of stuff for it, all you have to do is click one button and click another button that says pull, and then you click done, and then it's all there.
What? I
Yeah.
am gonna need a video guide. You're gonna have to make a TikTok about that or something because it it makes sense, but then again, it didn't at the same time. I heard you, but I'm not processing it properly, so
Yes.
I'm gonna need a tutorial.
And I think I agree that a lot of people will not process that because it doesn't make sense without the video for it. So I will make a video for it.
That's awesome. Stay tuned for that, folks. We got some hot TikTok content incoming.
Yes.
Let's see. So, there's only three more things that I want to talk about for early game, and then I've hit all my bubbles. The first one, real short and sweet, real easy peasy. I am sure most of you know this, but there is someone out there who doesn't, and that someone, I want you to know this. If you see a dino that is glowing, you should probably run away. Because if you are in the early game stages and you see a really cool dino that has like a cloud of red smoke coming off of it, that's bad. That's an alpha. You eventually will want to hunt those and you will want to kill them because they have sweet loot and you can get a lot of cool stuff from them. But early game, when you're riding around on a parasaur and you have two dilos following you, 2 out of 10 would not recommend. Run away.
Yeah, 100% run away. Very sadly, I'm 90% sure all Ark players have made the mistake of running into the glowing dino and one, either thinking it's just cool, or two, trying to tame it. As I myself have done that, tried to tame it for probably about 30 minutes until I realized I could not.
I was just going to say that either you had a friend who had a lot more experience than you, or you've never played Ark if you've never tried to tame an alpha. Because anybody who came in and didn't have, a friend sitting there holding their hand definitely tried at least once to tame an alpha.
Yes, 100%.
I had been manhandled by a couple alpha raptors, and I'm pretty positive that the first time I tried was with an alpha rex, and I probably tried for about a half hour too, and then I was like, all right, this is stupid.
Yep.
Up next, you mentioned it a little bit, Jericho, but I want to talk about stat allocation because,
Yep.
yeah, you don't level up your oxygen, you don't level up your food, you don't level up your water. Those are things that you won't need. It's annoying to have to eat all the time, and it's annoying to have to, stop and get drinks, but there are ways to mitigate that. You can make custom recipes that will fill that all up in one nibble and only weigh 0.1. So, I mean, you can get around that. I really highly have to agree with Jericho. Do not level those up. Everything else is really play style and preference. I recommend your health go to 400 plus is, between 400 and 450. I usually go to about 420-ish as my go-to for my health because it is high enough that I want to say 400 is where it caps out for damage when you fall. So if you were to go to the tippy top of the map, you hit the roof, little magic glowing wall, and you jump off your bird, you're going to fall and you're going to cap out at 400 damage. So if you have, 410, 420, 430, you're going to probably survive that fall as long as you were at max health when you fell. So that's my little protection from lag. We all know that I have potato internet, and as a result, I got disconnected a lot, especially playing on Ragnarok. So if you are experiencing lag and you're getting kicked from your official servers, I highly recommend you have a little bit over 400 health to mitigate that. What do you usually rock your health at, Jericho?
I would say right now I average between 300 and 350.
Okay. So that's still good. You're going to be able to take a lot of hits. You're going to be able to stay in the fight for a hot minute, and you're going to be able to survive most falls. Just make sure you don't hit terminal velocity. Stamina. What's your feelings on stamina? Do you put levels into that?
Yeah, I definitely do because I do not want to run out of stamina, especially now, speed is really based on your weight and different things like that. And I'm honestly trying to run away from these raptors and stuff. And you need the stamina because these things follow you, or you got to have these amazing juke moves. So I do upgrade stam.
Gotta have these amazing juke moves. Stamina is important for you to outrun stuff like that. I don't put as many levels into it anymore now that they got rid of leveling up speed, because those were used in tandem with me. I would always get my speed to about 150, 200, and then I would up my stamina from there so I could, just marathon man far, far away from anything that was trying to mess with me. And that was super convenient. But now that you
Yeah.
can't level up your running speed, I really haven't messed with it too much. It's one of the things that I will definitely put levels into it, but my unofficial server character, it's only at level 72 right now, but at level 72 I've only put one level into my stamina, and that was just to see if, it was boosted or not.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. It's not
I think it is.
a great strategy. It's not a main stat for me. It's not what I'm stressing about.
That's fair.
What is a good number for you when you're done leveling up your stamina? I will be done at 150. I won't go any higher than that. What are you gonna stop at?
Um, it's very hard because I've been playing on a lot of unofficial, and they get a little more boosted. Um, rates, and they boost the stamina stuff.
Oh,
um,
Jericho died.
I did die. Um, so I would say for me, for Stam, honestly, I think it's boosted, but I'm probably would say between 200 and 250.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely probably boosted because official rates, I think you get 10 stamina per level.
Yeah, I'd probably go 200 then. I'd still go between 200 and 250.
Okay, so that's between 10 and 15 levels you're putting in, which isn't bad. You said you were going to 350 for your health, then you're putting levels into stamina. So as of right now, you still got like, I'm not good with math, but you still got like 50 levels to toy with,
Something like that. Who knows,
60
right?
levels to toy with. Something. Yeah, yeah. So we're skipping oxygen because I say there's no need to
Yeah.
level that, right?
Yeah,
Skipping
not
food and
unless,
water because.
nah, there's really the only reason for oxygen is on any sort of official server. I'm never doing it, to be honest. I only do it on unofficials because why not? But otherwise, yes, zero reason. Don't upgrade oxygen.
Yeah, unless you're in your single player server like you said and you've got a real goofed. I have my oxygen broken because screw the ocean and everything that lives in it. So I
Yep.
will not drown in my single player, and that's okay with
Yep.
me. But in unofficial servers, that's just not a feasible. It makes the game too easy. It's not feasible. So
Yes.
I still would not recommend your oxygen. Stay out of the ocean, and if you, hate yourself and really want to go in the ocean because you like to be scared, then cool. But bring some scuba tanks. Don't level your oxygen. Okay, food and water. Blah blah blah. Wait, this is a hill that I will die on. I
Mm-hmm.
think weight needs to be boosted in official servers. I think it needs to be. It's a huge quality of life thing for me. I do not care if it's official or unofficial. I do not care how many levels it will cost me. I will have my weight to around 400 is where it will at a minimum go. That's just my playstyle.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I see it. I would probably do 300 if you can. I'd probably do around 300 at least, at minimum, to be honest.
Okay. And for PvP, for PvE, I want my weight for resource gathering. I want it for the simple quality of life of being able to do more in fewer trips. Is it a similar mindset for PvP, or are you doing it more for armor and weapon purposes, or like what's the mindset there for you?
No, honestly, I'm only doing that for the early game. So like you said, you can focus on the resources. But overall, I'm eventually using a mind wipe, and I'm probably only putting like 250 in because you're gonna want more points into health or more points depending on how you are into melee or fortitude.
Beautiful. Melee. Okay, so you're putting more points into melee. That's the next one anyway. So what is your melee going to be at for PvP? What is your target?
I think it depends, to be honest. Everyone will give you mixed answers. Um,
Mm.
if you want, if you're one of those people, you're on a boosted server. What 90% of the people do now on boosted servers is all they do is upgrade melee and only a couple into weight, and they just instantly go and knock every single buddy out because that's how much melee they have.
So they're just going to Kimbo slice everybody and come around the corner. Whop!
Yes, and get all free gear from you.
That is genius. Like, I can't even be mad about that. That's a pretty clever strategy there. It is unpleasantly easy to be knocked out in this game. I feel like
Yes.
your fortitude does a lot less in Survival Ascended than it does in Survival Evolved.
I will die on the hill.
Actually, no, hold on. I'm reprocessing here. So
Nope.
we're skipping the crafting skill. We'll come back to that. But, I'm skipping a lot of things. So my melee is 175 right now. I'm gonna go between 175 and 200. I don't know. It depends on the moment. Depends on how many levels I have. But I'll stop at 175, and then that'll be when I'm level 95. If I have everything else where I want it, then I'll put more in melee. But crafting skill we'll come back to. My fortitude in the unofficial server right now is 20. In the official servers, I like to bounce somewhere in the 26 to 32 region. That is mainly for temperature resistance. I have noticed in Survival Ascended, fortitude does a lot more for your temperature resiliency than it does for your resistance to torpor. Whereas in Survival Evolved, it was backwards. I feel like it did very little to protect you from the heat or cold, but if you leveled your fortitude up, like I can very distinctly remember Joe Daddy, it is one of his favorite things to do to make his fortitude absolutely cracked. And I can very distinctly remember him giggling like a little schoolgirl playing Survival Evolved, running around the base, just beating the crap out of everybody and cattle prodding us and trank darting us and knocking us all out. And everybody's like ganging up on him, just absolutely beating the crap out of him with clubs and shooting him with, trank darts from Ascendant long necks. And he just couldn't get knocked out. And I don't think
Yeah.
it works that way anymore in Survival Ascended. Whether that's an intended feature or just an unintended change with the way they recoded it, it does not do jack diddly for your torpor.
Yeah, no, it does absolutely nothing. I swear you get knocked out by every single thing that touches you.
Gosh, was it the episode of Family Guy where the guy who is the driver for the Pope talks about how he gets super easily knocked out by anything, and then somebody like almost knocks him on the head, and he's like, "Oh man, it's a good thing you didn't do this," and then he like very gently bonks himself on the head and gets completely knocked out. I feel like that's Mark Blair in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong.
And then the last one that we didn't talk about because you can't level up your speed. If you can level up your speed, 200 is the way to go. Can't level up your torpidity. That's just 200 is where you're locked at, if I'm remembering correctly. But crafting skill, popular opinion,
No.
probably, but I, always doubt myself. Don't touch your crafting speed, or don't touch your crafting skill. Have a crafting alt if you're on an official server, and if you're on an unofficial server, feel free to just mind wipe yourself. Boost your crafting, craft everything you've got to craft in a day, and then mind wipe yourself back.
Yep, I agree. There's no other reason to talk about anything, and that is the final answer.
Yeah, that's it. There's really no workaround. Convince us we're wrong. If you're going to level up your crafting skill, it literally needs to be an all or nothing thing, because it would be rather silly for you to put 15 levels into it. That's going to be 15 wasted levels because you're not going to receive enough of a bonus to make it worth your time and the investment of allocated points. Whereas if you're going to put 98 levels into your crafting skill, you're going to be crafting some disgustingly sweet stuff. So that's really it. Like Jericho said, nothing more to say about that. Yeah, very last little not even a pro tip, just some little logic here for you if you're unfamiliar. The spawn zones have difficulty ratings on them, so early game, make sure you're looking for the easy ones. Unless you're a rather experienced player, then feel free to go to the medium. And if you really like a challenge, start off at level 1 in the hard ones. I would love to hear some stories. And Jericho, tell me a story about you doing it if you have, where you at level 1 start a brand new server in a hard biome to play on. I tried to do it on Scorched Earth and Survival Evolved. 2 out of 10 would not recommend.
Honestly, um, it depends on which hard zone you spawn in because it is hard. I agree, but some of these hard zones still have pteranodons in that you just go tame, or sometimes you're going to claim a base there. But I mean, yeah, there's also instances of you just absolutely getting demolished. Like sometimes you spawn in the snow, and then you're getting chased by a dire wolf, and you're like, bro, I literally just spawned in. Like, you have a chance for it to be very hard, and I as a new player, I would never suggest going to spawn in the North Zone right away.
No. And I mean, to play devil's advocate, that can happen in any spawn
Yes.
because I want to say it was our unofficial server actually. I spawned into one of the easy zones, and before I even got done looking at my wrist implant, I was having a raptor whisper in my ear, and I was not fond of it.
Yep.
That that animation, man, I appreciate the aesthetics of it, and I appreciate all the effort that the developers put into to make that animation. But for the love of God, please allow me to cancel it when I'm getting manhandled by a raptor or a Dilo is pooping on my face or something. Like, for the love of God, let me defend myself. And I'm sitting here like,
Hmm.
I'm just itching my arm. Man, well, that's all I got for surviving the early game. That was a thick segment. That was a big one, but I feel like it's important for newer players, and I feel like it's important to cover and, remind us of some of the other stuff. So I don't have anything else for that, do you?
The last thing I really got is remember survivors to carry a bola, carry a torch, carry spears to make sure that these beach bobs don't knock you out. For PvP, by the way, you don't have to carry that stuff for PVE. I'm just saying, carry that stuff in PvP.
Oh no, carry it. PVE, carry Ebola. Um, there are a handful of times where you're going to be able to bola like a raptor. You can bola that raptor and boogie on out of there. Put a couple, wooden spike walls in front of you and run if you don't have anything to defend yourself with. Or it can give you some valuable time to put yourself, on the other side of something a little easier for it to kill because there's no shame in kiting it to a wild dino.
Mm-hmm.
So, bolas, important.
Yes.
Um, Moving on through the outline here, coming out of the early game stuff, the creator spotlight. I want to sort of stick with the theme here of early game stuff, and I want to talk about KonKon. A lot of you are probably familiar with KonKon because he's a pretty well known streamer in the Ark community. He has gone to other games. He has been posting, different games more recently and become more of a variety streamer. But some of his older videos, and if you look up Ark on his page, he's got like almost 50 videos or something like that. And most of them are, quote unquote, easy videos, like easy eggs, easy raptor taming, easy first Rex tame. If you are looking for how to do something easily, or you're looking for, a shortcut or just a pro tip on how to do some of these early game things, whether it's taming, building your bases, stuff like that, highly recommend you check out KonKon. That's the creator spotlight that I'd like to shine this week.
Yeah, honestly, KonKon has, like you said, he has the great early game tutorials. So if you do need anything, make sure you go check his channel out.
For sure, for sure. I talked to Jericho a little bit. So, who's that Dynamon? I goofed up last week. A few of you pointed out to me in the Discord, and thank you so much for pointing it out because I was not aware at first that the sound from last week did not work. I was getting hit with the copyright violation because I just straight up downloaded the sound from the wiki and then, used that downloaded audio bite and stuck it right into the episode. And apparently, I'm sure Spotify has some AI algorithm or something stupid like that. But either way, they busted me and they muted that sound out. So you guys didn't hear it last week. Jericho, should we replay the one from last week? Or should I save that for a different week and do a new one this week? What do you think we should do?
I think we owe it to him, man. I think we got to give him to the one last week. And, thank you for all the people that randomly voted. Shout out to you.
Yeah, we had some random votes. Good for them. I appreciate that. We'll look at that here in a little bit when we get to the question of the week, but that makes me happy. So, without further ado, keeping the ocean in mind, I want you to tell me, who's that Dynamon? Yeah, so mute that, Spotify. Please don't. So, all jokes aside, what do you guys think that is? I still think last week, I really got you last week because you guys didn't even hear it, so ha ha. But I really think I got you this week. So I want you guys to go back to the poll, vote again after actually hearing it this time, and let me know who you think that dino is. Now, Jericho, did you see who I wrote down that it was? Because if not, I'm going to play it for you through my mic, and I want you to try to guess.
I have not seen you wrote down who it was.
I am going to play the sound for Jericho here, and I'm going to have him take a guess too, because it's just interesting. There are a lot of creatures in Ark that I have never thought about what they sounded like until I sat down and was like, oh man, who should I do for this week's Dynamon? You realize that a lot of these creatures, you just weren't familiar with the noises they make.
Yeah, I agree.
Jericho, who's this? Better yet, we could just use that for this episode. So, everybody else, who do you think this is? Any guesses?
All it went was that thing's really weird. I don't know what weird dino does that, but whatever dino they have for that sound probably needs to be out of the game because I'm not listening to that, and I don't want to listen to that again. But I'm gonna say it just randomly goes, and the only you said keep ocean in mind. That's the thing, right? So you got to keep ocean in mind. So Pelagornis, that could be, but I think they'd make that sound more like a bird. I mean, what else? I don't know if a trilobite has a sound. I'm sorry, Nettie, I'm not that smart. And then I would say, man, in underwater, I know it's not a mosasaur, nor it's not a plesiosaur. I'm gonna say maybe a piranha or some sort of. I'm just gonna go piranha.
Isn't it interesting that they even gave the fish, like the fact that we're having this discussion of what noise a fish makes is wild to me. The fact that they put noises for fish is interesting.
Yeah, very weird, and I'm not understanding why that would be a thing.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every creature in Ark has a noise.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
That'd be an interesting piece of trivia. Anybody who knows the answer to that trivia question, that's your Ark nerd answer of the week is, do you know off the top of your head, are there any creatures in Ark that just flat out don't have a sound? Because I don't think so. I think everything has a soundbite to it.
I don't think a trilobite does.
I mean, you got me curious. Now we're gonna look it up live. Because Ark trilobite sounds. No way. Let me listen to this. That's not making any noise. Huh. Yeah, this video says trilobite sounds, and it's the sound of the person jumping up and down and their character going, So I'm going to have to give you that one. I'm going to say the trilobite's got no noise. My bad. I was wrong. All right, Jericho wins Ark Nerd of the Week.
Yeah.
Any other ones? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. Food for thought. So go ahead, drop your vote below. What you think that is? What you think we got going on there for that interesting sound? And according to Jericho, something that goes blah 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 real quick. So let me know. The official server, Jericho. So we talked about that a little bit. We sort of in the meat and potatoes here talked about sort of what we are doing a little bit. Do you have any additional stories, anything special that's happened in the unofficial server that you're super stoked about?
No. Honestly, if I'm being really honest, I've ended on bad terms at this moment. As the last time I was in the server, I flew a Pteranodon about 5,000 meters away from my base, and realized that I was cold, and I ended up dying.
Oh, no.
So I left my Pteranodon there, and I decided to quit the game because that was my only Pteranodon.
Oh no. Don't quit the game. Just spawn on the beach and get a new one.
No, I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be back on, but I just was not happy at that time.
Oh. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit, man. It's so frustrating. I had the exact same issue yesterday where it was either yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before because I'm pretty sure yesterday I fell asleep in my chair like an old man. But we had like 4 pteranodons, and I got on one and went to go do something. I don't remember what it was. Ran out of stamina, landed, got absolutely manhandled, and lost the pteranodon and died. So then came back, jumped on the next pteranodon, and went to go back to get my stuff. And the first time I got killed by freaking ants. Out of all things, my pteranodon got killed by ants. And I was like, all right, well, that's super irritating and embarrassing. So I was just going to keep that to myself. Flew back to my bag, landed, turned around, and the 3 ants are attacking that pteranodon as well. And I was like, all right, there's no way they're going to kill it again. I get on the pteranodon. I start flying away. Jericho, I kid you not, I fly about 8 meters, and all of a sudden the dude just loses consciousness mid-flight and drops to the ground in the middle of the redwoods. And I was like, poking it with a stick, hoping it would wake up, and it did not. They came over, chomp, 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 and I couldn't do anything but punch it in the face because I didn't have anything on me. So I'm sitting there punching these ants trying to save my bird. And then I die, and that pteranodon dies as well. So I was like, excellent. Jump on the last pteranodon that we have on the mission to go back and get my crap. And I got my stuff, and then I think I continued up to the north to... I think I was trying to focus on taming Argents at that point, so I took our 3rd and final pteranodon up to the north and ended up promptly getting it killed. And then got the... while I was doing that with the 3rd one, Joe Daddy was like, oh, it's okay, don't feel bad, I got you, I'll tame us another one, and I'll make sure we've got some. So he goes through all the effort of taming a new pteranodon. He gets it back to base, and as soon as he gets it back to base, I was like, all right, I'm taking this pteranodon and going to do X, Y, and Z. Immediately was met with some very unfortunate luck. I don't even remember what it was. I blocked it from my memory, but it was one of those situations where you sit there and you can do nothing but say a couple bad words because it was just flat out unfortunate luck.
Yeah.
And pteranodon after pteranodon after pteranodon gone. So tamed another new pteranodon, and I've got that bad boy parked up in the snow area. I built a little satellite base in the snow area, and I am currently, as we speak, figured out the issue with the narcotics. Thanks BC and Alan Wooly Mello for telling me there that I had to relearn the engram. We got rid of the draconic mod, and that sort of messed up some of our engrams. Yeah, that's really what I got going on here. So spamming all sorts of narcotics and stuff like that, and then I'm probably gonna tame an Argent or two before I go to bed here. Um, as far as the rates go on the unofficial server, if anybody wants to join it, we currently have it password protected because we are ironing out a few little kinks. There's a couple interesting things that we didn't know could be problems that we're encountering. So that's an interesting battle. But once we get those few things figured out, we're going to reopen it up. So it is available to play for, I don't want to say like, a select few, but it is open. We do have people in it. If you would like to join it, send me a message and I can talk to you about how and when you can get in there. But the unofficial server is up. If you are interested in a boosted server, it is indeed a ×5 rate on everything, ×7 or 8 on taming. 8, I think it is, on taming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ×8 taming, ×5 everything else. It's pretty solid. It's been pretty well balanced. We have some quality of life mods on there, but nothing crazy. So if you're looking for a super vanilla game, it might not be the server for you. And if you're looking for an extremely heavily modded server, also it might not be the one for you. But if you're looking for a pretty balanced and fun way to go, then let us know, man. I feel like the more the merrier. But again, we got to iron out a couple goofy things.
Yeah, make sure you guys come on and join. We'd love to have you. Just let us know if you guys want to hop on and let us know anything you guys want to change.
Oh yeah. Alrighty. Question of the week from last week. I'm trying to get it to open up here. Do you happen to have it open already, Jericho?
Mm-hmm. So the question of the week last week was if you could add any semi-aquatic creature to Ark or semi/aquatic creature to Ark, what would it be and what would it do? As always, man, Sonic, also known as Hail Hydra, coming in clutch. As a Jaws fan, 1, I'm with you, Matt. I hate the ocean. LOL. 2, a 25-foot great white shark. It would be able to jump out of the water and single shot birds and boats and it would swallow whole survivors.
Dude, that is, first off, okay, so many things. I'm having so many emotions right now. First off, Hail Hydra, glad you're okay. He didn't answer last week. I don't know if I told you that or not, Jericho. I forgot. I was going to panic text you after recording last week. He didn't answer last week, so I'm glad to see he answered this week. And that is an amazing answer, actually. The ocean is already extra spooky, but like it reminds me of the Leedsichthys, the little, is it a Leedsichthys? Whatever the raft eater is, the thing that can come up and like two-shot a raft. It sounds similar to that combined with the Megalodon. So could you absolutely imagine how terrifying that would be?
Yeah, that'd be very terrifying, and I wouldn't want it in the game because it'd be very scary, and I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Dude, I think that would be a great mod. I would download that mod just for the sheer horror factor of it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like a horror game in Ark.
Yeah. It's like Subnautica on steroids.
But honestly, other than that, I gotta give, just so you know, Hail Hydra did answer that week. He just answered not when we recorded. Because he said, Hail Hydra here, it's been a long week for me. But he did answer the question, by the way. So he has answered every single one. Okay. But no, going on here.
100%.
He is the man. I'm not gonna lie. He's the man. But coming on with the next one here, oh man, maybe I should have let you do this. Gabriel. Hey man, I think Hail Hydra and Gabriel been balling out. Balling out, okay?
For sure, absolutely.
Man. LYRARAPAXUNGUISPINUS. It's like Lyra Pax Unag. Yeah, I'm not even, bro. Nope.
What did you just call me?
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it, bro. Not doing it.
All right. I gotta. My computer is very frustratingly cooperating, so I'm Lyrorapix unguispinus.
Yep.
Unguispinus. That's fun to say. I need to look this Latin name up here because that's obviously like a scientific name for something, and I want to
Yeah.
know what because I can't quite put my finger on it.
And then he said it would hit normal with left mouse button. It would hang the prey and suck blood, regenerating health with right click. And with C, it would get a or I think even say mini speed boost.
Okay, so I just Googled a picture of it, and
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel, you're banned from the Discord. You're banned. That, oh my gosh. So you would know this. You don't know it by name, but I'm almost positive you would know it by sight. Do you remember from Survival Evolved those little underwater shrimp thingy that would knock you out really bad? The big ones, you rip
Yeah,
the
they're
ribs or
still in
whatever.
Ascended, but yes.
Yeah, they look like that. They've got the big long like feely pinchers on the front of them, but then they've got like the shrimp frillies coming off the back of it instead of
Oh.
scorpion claws. So if you pictured like one of those Eurypterids had a baby with a shrimp, that's what it looks like, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, that does not sound like a good time. I'm not gonna lie.
The Smithsonian has an article on it that says this prehistoric sea creature had fanged killer babies. You lost me.
What?
Dang.
Yep.
Look this. Yeah, you guys look this creature up. The Lyrorapix unguispinus. It is terrifying. Gabriel and Sonic Speed. You guys are banned from the Discord in all the right ways. But it's hanging onto the prey and sucking blood, regenerating health. That is pretty solid. It's like an aquatic version of the what's the thing he called from Gen 2 with the like the blood spider thing, Bloodstalker?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we had one more. Will to Thrill 807 said a rideable seal or a walrus would be awesome. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be
A
kind of cool.
seal? What would a seal or a walrus do? Like, what do you think their utility
Maybe
would
harvest
be?
penguins. I don't know.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Harvesting penguins would be good. Super good organic polymer. I don't know. That would be pretty solid, though. I'm all for current creatures being put into Ark. I feel like that's something they need to utilize more. I wouldn't mind seeing, like, a fox or a chicken running around.
That's fair.
Alright. Last thing. Do you have a question that has crossed your mind during this episode that you want to be the question of the week? Or should we open up the bag for Old Faithfuls?
Open up for Old Faithful.
All right, we're going to reach in our handy dandy little fortune cookie bag of questions here. I don't actually have a handy dandy bag of questions. I'm just trying to think of one on the spot. All right, this week's question of the week. When you first enter into the Ark, what is the first dino that you are going to tame? Might not be the first thing you do, but when you are going after a dino, what is the first one you're snagging? I think Jericho and I are both probably on the same page here. Parasaur at first.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be easy peasy, super accessible, very quick tame, and gonna get your berry farm going. So, in my opinion, only way to go. The only other answer would be a pteranodon, but that's gonna be a pain in the tuchus to get the saddle at first. So, Parasaur's the way to go.
Definitely.
Very last thing I've got for this episode, folks, is the Patreon. This episode should be posted on the 28th of February. It is a leap year this year because, Romans, why not? So, at the end of the leap year, beginning of March here, March 1st, I plan to have our Patreon up and running. We will probably not have the additional episode posted already on March 1st, but as promised, every single month there will be some additional content that will be exclusive to the Patreon members. So if you would like to, have the opportunity to get involved in all of that extra content, see some behind the scenes stuff, and, just have more ways to engage with us, make sure to head on over to the Patreon. Once it gets set up, I will edit the description of this episode to include that link as well. There's no obligation to sign up for anything. We're not expecting anyone to sign up for anything, but if you choose to support us financially to get better and additional content out to you guys, then heck, you guys are awesome and we appreciate you. So keep an eye out for the Patreon. Jericho, it has been a longer episode. I am mentally exhausted. It's late. I have nothing left that I can think of to say this week. Do you?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't know why, but I'm dead. I'm tired. Like we said, work a little crazy, makes us tired. No, other than that, man, everyone, thank you guys. Make sure to share, make sure to like, comment, everything. We appreciate all you guys. We appreciate everyone in the Discord. We just, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys if you made it this far. Just remember to share, comment on the poll, answer the questions. Yeah, comment on the poll. Makes sense. Other than that, survivors, as always, keep on surviving, and we appreciate you guys.
Keep on surviving. See you next week, Beach Bobs.
Goodbye.